Hello, everyone. My name is Christine Dagny, and I am the editor, publisher, and caretaker of the Energy Balancing by Numbers manual and its online presence. Before we start, let's just go over the disclaimer. None of what I'm going to talk about has been evaluated by any three-letter agency like the FDA. And also, importantly, when we talk about body parts, diseases, or disorders, we are talking about their subtle energies. We are not talking about physical organs themselves. So let's talk first about the creator of Balancing by Numbers, Mr. Lloyd Mir and his wife Phyllis. Born in Trail, British Columbia, Lloyd Mir was a civil engineer in the gold mining industry for over 20 years. He always had a great interest in geology, metallurgy, and the isotopes of minerals. During this time as a civil engineer, he discovered the ancient art of dowsing. As the story goes, they had a particular gold mine that they were mining up in northern Canada. They were trying, without luck, to trace a channel of gold beneath the Earth's surface, but it kept shifting directions from where they thought it was going. It was getting expensive to keep digging holes, only to find that the channel had shifted. Until one day, one guy on the site said, "I know a guy who can help you. He can tell you which way the channel is going." So they brought in this guy, and he was an expert dowser. And he determined the direction through his dowsing, the direction of the channel, and he was spot on. Lloyd was very intrigued by this and set about to learn the skill of dowsing. And he got really, really good at it. And he even traveled to other places, including Africa, to help with a mining company there. So during this time, he and a physicist friend were studying how gold deposits were formed in rivers when there was not a detectable originating source up in the mountain. There was no mother lode that they could find. So together, they were able to show and determine how each energetic isotope of gold was picked up along the river by passing by different geology, so passing by different rock formations, until at one point in the river, these isotopes came together and a fleck of gold was formed. And then these flecks of gold were sticky, and they attracted other flecks of gold to the point where they would become a nugget. So Lloyd was sure that this was how they formed nuggets, gold nuggets, how they were formed. And actually, he was able to repeat the process in his barn in a bucket of water. The flecks came together, but they were energetically unstable. So they soon went back into solution. But he had done it. He had made gold. He was a true alchemist. Now, when Lloyd was 60, he had a heart attack in a remote area of Canada. The nearest hospital was 60 miles away, and he was by himself. Determined, he put up an extraordinary fight, suffering extreme nausea, and oftentimes he'd find himself passed out on the wrong side of the road with traffic oncoming. It took him 6 hours to drive those 60 miles, but somehow he made it to the hospital, and he walked through the doors and he told the staff, "I think I'm having a heart attack." Well, 4 stints later, Lloyd knew it probably was not just the artery to his heart that had plaque, but he probably had it elsewhere in his body. Taking what he already knew about isotopes and how gold was formed, he knew that if he provided his body with the right isotopes, that the plaque would dissolve on its own. He figured out with his dowsing that if he put the energy of indium 125, so isotope 125, into water, it would get rid of his particular type of plaque. When the energy of indium 125 gets into the bloodstream through drinking the charged water, the plaque would slowly go back into solution and exit the body. Lloyd said that within a month, his arteries were clean as a whistle. But what's interesting to note is when Lloyd used the indium 125 in the beginning, he was taking it in the form of a supplement. At one point, he noticed he wasn't getting the same benefits. So he called the manufacturer, and he was told that they were sourcing the indium from a different place. So that was affecting which isotope they were um, bringing in, which isotope they were sourcing. So now the search was on to find the proper isotope. So out comes the map of the United States. Lloyd was able to douse out that the indium that he needed, the indium 125, was just outside Oklahoma City. Turns out it was in a cow pasture. So he and Phyllis made the road trip. They brought back the stones, the rocks that had indium 125, and they put them in water, and he started to drink the water with the same beneficial effect. So around this time, he had a conversation with his physicist friend. And his physicist friend said, darn, if we could just figure it out, we would realize it was all mathematics. Now, this led Lloyd to ask with his dowsing rod, is there a mathematical formula for indium 125? To which he got a positive response. He was then able to douse out a mathematical formula for indium 125 that captured the energetic signature of it. He then realized, and I quote, he said, if I can do this with one correct isotope of energy in water, what can I do if I had all the correct isotopes I need in water? And the energy balancing by numbers manual was born. So over Lloyd's lifetime, he developed the mathematical formulas for over 7,000 health items, primarily dealing with the human energy body. He never used a computer. He even joked to me, he said, I don't even know how to turn one on. Yet for every number sequence he would develop, he never had a duplicate. It's mind-boggling. So with his wife, Phyllis, they together published the first manual in 2009. Hand-typed by her in a 3-ring binder. So what's my story? I met Lloyd through my mentor, Dr. Gary Kersey. Now, Dr. Gary would often mention Lloyd's name during our lunches. And after one of these lunches, I finally decided to look up Lloyd on the internet. And I found that I had watched his interview with Regina Meredith, who's now with Gaia.com, but I watched it back in 2009. Apparently, it didn't resonate with me at the time because I completely forgot about Lloyd. That same day, I called Lloyd and I purchased his manual. A week later, after I got the manual, I did a session with Lloyd to help with a fatigue that I had that was chronic for 7 years that I couldn't seem to shake. During this session, Lloyd went over his checklist looking for the usual imbalances. And I was good in that department. But when he went looking for what was behind my fatigue, he was having trouble finding what I needed. So I encouraged him, I said, please, got to find something. And he almost went through the entire manual when he came upon a number called normalized brain function. And that number was 888-292-67865. He said I had no presence of this number when he was dowsing and asked that I start reciting it. So I did. And usually when you recite a number out loud, the number will come into your energy body about after reciting it maybe for 7 to 15 times. But not for me. It wasn't until I got to about the 20th time that I felt an energy come in through the top of my head and I wanted to cry. And it was at this moment that Lloyd, who had been measuring with his dowsing rod, measuring the number coming into my body, and he said, okay, it's in. So I recited that number multiple times a day, like 50, 60 times a day. I was ridiculous. At right about the 2-week mark, though, something happened. I felt my fatigue lift. It was gone. And the only thing I can figure out is that my brain was stuck in this fatigue pattern and it needed this number to be able to recalibrate. So it was after this profound experience that I got the message. I swear, I got the message from the universe that said, redo the manual. And I asked my husband, I said, do you think it's possible? I really would like to do this, even if it's just for me. I really want to do this. And he said, yes. So I called Lloyd up and I said, Lloyd, I want to redo your manual. And he said, good luck. I guess there'd been a couple of people who had promised him that they were going to do it, but never followed through on it. So I can understand that he was pretty skeptical. But I really had no idea what I was getting myself into. And I didn't even know how to use an Excel spreadsheet at that time. But my husband, Kelly, showed me what to do, and I was on my way. And it took me the summer of 2014, but I successfully published it in September 2014. So let's talk about what the manual is about. Lloyd developed strings of numbers. They're number sequences that have an energy and an intention. Each number is carefully created by connecting to his higher source and downloading the number through his dowsing. Numbers range in length from 9 to 16 digits. Lloyd estimated that the human body is made up of nearly 1.2 million frequencies. Most of these frequencies come in at birth and provide the scaffolding of our energy body, providing it with really cosmic information. Lloyd saw the human energy body as like a radio with many, many stations. If you didn't have the dial tuned properly to the radio station, you would get static, or sometimes the station would be down and missing from your radio dial. So the numbers hold the intention of bringing in an energy that has gone missing or eliminating an energy that is causing static. So the numbers finally tune all of those radio stations. Now, inside the manual, there are 3 categories. There's ID, elimination, and balancing. ID, or identification numbers, were developed solely for identifying a possible imbalance, and they're used only for that purpose. Elimination numbers are used to eliminate undesired frequencies that may be causing static or causing a problem to exist. Balancing numbers make up the remainder and are the majority of numbers in the manual. So all of the elimination and balancing numbers in this book represent numbers or frequencies that should be in your energy body. So when we are using the manual, we are really looking for missing numbers. It's really that simple. So let's go over some of the areas that are covered in the manual. Excuse me. I just had an apple. Okay, so we have a group of numbers called fundamental life frequencies. These are very important frequencies that come into the fetus while in the womb. They are the frequencies of the chemical element promethium, or PM. Promethium was first discovered by scientists in 1945, and it's named after Prometheus of Greek mythology. Prometheus was the one who stole fire from the gods and gave it to humans. Prometheus is also credited with the creation of humanity from clay, which interestingly coincides with what Lloyd tells us about the element promethium. Lloyd determined the 7 frequencies of promethium. These 7 frequencies come in from the cosmos into the fetus at around 6 months of pregnancy, and this programming stays turned on and downloading for approximately 21 days. These frequencies help energetically create a healthy newborn. So while not creating life out of clay, as Prometheus the god did, it's creating life with energy. These frequencies of promethium are also theorized by Lloyd to bring in the other vitamins and minerals for the developing baby. He realized this when he would douse a pregnant woman and find that she was deficient in certain vitamins or minerals. But then when he doused the fetus, he didn't find the same deficiencies. So where was the fetus getting these isotopes? He theorized that promethium was bringing them in. Whether this is true or not, it is interesting that studies have shown that a pregnant woman with scurvy, which is a vitamin C deficiency, is not known to give birth to a baby with scurvy. So here's the quote from one study. Pregnant women with low vitamin C intakes are not known to give birth to a scorbutic infant. Studies of breastfeeding women also indicate not only the freedom from scurvy in their infants, but also a larger amount of vitamin C in their milk than the women themselves consume daily. So, where is this vitamin C coming from, if not from the cosmos? It is believed by some that promethium is a scalar wave, or a standing wave of vacuum space, that all of the vacuum space of the universe is permeated by scalar, or standing wave of promethium. Through the art of dowsing, these 7 frequencies can be detected in the fetus and in the newborn. It stays present in the newborn up until about 6 or 7 months old, when the baby starts to eat solid foods. And this is what is crazy. All fruits and vegetables have one of these frequencies. An orange may have frequency 8. A carrot may have frequency 23. Broccoli might have frequency 28. So eating organic, fresh vegetables and fruits ensures that you get these fundamental frequencies throughout your life. If one of these frequencies goes missing, you can lose your energetic protection from certain illnesses. For example, if one suffers a trauma, they may lose frequency 28. That frequency is 4176299577. Missing this energetic frequency can leave you energetically vulnerable to the energies of Alzheimer's, dementia, and Lou Gehrig's disease. Lloyd would always want to check his clients to be sure that these frequencies are present. But this last frequency, frequency 177, is not present in everyone. Lloyd says that this frequency 177 has something to do with a person's sexual preference. Because of this, Lloyd decided it would not be appropriate to develop a number for it. Okay, let's move on to chromosomes. Lloyd felt that the chromosomes were a critical part of his work and would always check his clients during their first session. He would check them for chromosome pairs to make sure that they had all of them. So he usually found that if one chromosome frequency was out, it took out the adjacent chromosomes too. So for example, you might find chromosome 10, 11, and 12 are not working, but one of these will be the key number to turn on the others. These are powerful numbers for certain types of leukemia and unexplainable conditions. It could be that the DNA isn't functioning right. Lloyd says that chromosome 20, which is 5846683768976 is perhaps affected by fear. Fear, the inherent fear of losing your job or your house or your family. This ever-present fear can cause the body to produce immature blood cells, and then the body can't pack enough oxygen to support life, so you become weak. He found that it may well lead to leukemia. So you correct chromosome 20 and you get it back online by repeating that number 7 times. It might take a couple hours, but Lloyd would then be able to dowse if the body was producing mature cells. And there was a time where Lloyd was helping a lot of kids with leukemia by bringing this chromosome back online. And it was to the point where he was visited by one of our 3-letter agencies. And he chuckled at them when they started asking him questions. And he said, "It's just numbers." And soon they left him alone. But even more interesting is that Lloyd found that there are more than just the medically accepted 23 pairs of chromosomes. You know, we didn't always agree on how many chromosomes we have. For a long time, we thought there were 24 pairs. And in the 1920s, some thought there were only 19 pairs. It wasn't until 1955 when a guy named Tiho published a photo and declared that there were 23 pairs. And everyone has believed him since. Now, according to Lloyd's work and the information he received from the cosmos, there could be as many as 110 chromosome pairs. Crazy. In the manual, we have only 9 of those additional pairs, but the last pair is number 110. So what about these chromosomes? We have chromosome pairs 25, 26, 27. Are these extra pairs perhaps energetic in nature? Or maybe we just don't see them under a microscope? When you really think about it, we've never actually seen a chromosome at work inside of a live cell. I even asked ChatGPT the other day, and here's what it said. Directly visualizing a chromosome inside a fully intact living organism has been one of the biggest challenges in cellular biology. While researchers have achieved remarkable progress in imaging techniques, we haven't observed the actual structure of individual chromosomes within the nucleus of cells in a living body as clearly as we can in isolated cells or tissue samples. So what they're saying is really, first we need to isolate it. Then we have to chemically treat it, or we can puff it up with a low salt solution so that we can better see it under a microscope or an imaging technique. We always have to do that something, and which actually kills it so we can look at it. Which begs the question, what are they really looking at? Could it be that we just haven't devised a method to see other chromosomes and therefore they don't exist? I like to think that these additional chromosomes are energetic in nature and just can't be seen with our current imaging techniques. Another interesting topic that Lloyd got interested in is dimensions. He breaks down the dimensions like this. First dimension is where we were about 80% animal and 20% human, so think caveman. Second dimension is 20% animal, 80% human. Fifth dimension, where most of us are now, is 20% light and 80% human. Eighth dimension, 50 to 60% light and 40 to 50% human. Lloyd says there are a lot of healers are in the eighth dimension. And then the 12th dimension, which is 80% light and 20% human. Lloyd's theory is that a lot of folks with ADD or ADHD are actually stuck in the sixth dimension, which is very unstable at this time. So he developed a fifth dimension stabilizer number, which is 43678736789. This fifth dimension stabilizer number will help bring people back into the fifth dimension. He also developed a sixth dimension elimination number, which is 6857365838824642. Lloyd has given these numbers to school teachers, and they've written them on their blackboards. And the kids see the numbers all day, and the teachers have reported back that it helps the kids stay focused. So Lloyd said a lot of, I already mentioned that about energy workers. All right, next slide. Okay, let's go. We've got an entire section for the spine. So all of the numbers of the vertebrae. They're all mapped out, including a couple numbers that energetically open up spinal flow. Lloyd said that if you don't have this particular number in your energy body, energy won't flow properly throughout your spine. That number is 926947797. He said you could get all the chiropractic adjustments you want, but these adjustments may not hold without this number being present in your energy body. Also, emotions will often shut down the flow of energy through the spinal column. In this case, we would use the emotion and stress elimination number, which is 6857487387. And along with that, the psoas muscle release, which is 8768978747. Lloyd found that the psoas is a storehouse for emotions, especially in women. It could be from childbirth, sexual abuse, or trauma. So it's very good to bring in that number. Now, some of my favorite categories are like mineral energies, undesirable mineral frequencies. Lloyd knew that not all forms of minerals were beneficial to the human body because he understood isotopes. In fact, he had a book of isotopes from the National Institute of Standards that is not available to the public because it lists a bunch of it listed all of the known isotopes, and they don't want people knowing some of these isotopes because they don't want people fooling around with them. So you're not going to find this book in a bookstore. It's a very special book. Anyway, take calcium. For instance, he doubts that most calcium supplements are calcium 51. So buying it off the shelf in a health food store, you're probably getting calcium 51, which is an isotope of calcium that is not beneficial to the human energy body. So energetically, calcium 46 is much better. In fact, Lloyd said you're better off doing the numbers for calcium 46 than you are taking calcium, a supplement that has calcium isotope 51. So all the beneficial isotopes and minerals are listed. And also, we also have a section for minerals that you want to, the isotopes that you want to eliminate from the body. And these are all listed under undesirable minerals. Another fun section in the book is nutrition. In it, you'll find the energetic frequencies of herbs or things like butyric acid from butter, celery juice, curcumin, glutathione, lots of fun stuff there. And then we have spiritual healing and healers. Have you ever wondered if there was a frequency that only Nikola Tesla had? He did. Lloyd was able to douse out what that was. So pretty amazing stuff. So the manual is available for purchase at balancingbynumbers.com. And once you purchase the manual, you'll get access to the training that includes the BBN course, Balancing by Numbers course, and the audios and transcripts, and much more. The training website is called bbnmembers.com. So I want to thank all of you for sharing this time with me. I really appreciate you. Thank you.